Good morning, afternoon, and evening. You are listening to the Economic Podcast for Gen Z. I am your host, Stefan Bartel, and today I am joined with David Chenette, and we're going to be talking about some e-commerce. David, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. For those in the audience who don't know you, can you perhaps give an introduction of yourself, and
Uh,
then we'll get the show on the road?
yeah, absolutely. Real quick, my name's David Chenette. Just a guy out here living on God's green earth, just doing my thing. I'm by trade nothing, but right now, currently, I'm doing e-commerce. That's what I do. And just for those who don't really know, it's just selling things online, more or less, just to make it plain and simple.
Yeah, so I mean, thank you for the introduction. Let's jump right into it. What is e-commerce? What do you do all day? How do you do it? Why did you kind of jump down this instead of chasing a big four dream?
Um, well, I guess that's a multifaceted question, right?
Hmm.
I guess we'll start with what it is. Like I said, it's just kind of just selling things online. There's a lot of different aspects to e-commerce. There's logistics and sales and the whole, digital back end of things. But yeah, just more or less, it's just selling things online. Kind of just like open up a shop, at your in your local strip mall. I did that on the internet instead. And what I do specifically, I would say, kind of tends to be more like the way I sell is it's kind of like an online flea market. You know how like flea markets you go and you set up your booth in somebody else's building and kind of just do your business in somebody else's thing. That's kind of what I do. Doing Amazon, Walmart, eBay. Those are what they call marketplaces. So what I'm doing is I'm just setting up my shop through these big platforms and selling my stuff that I have through these big websites, and they just kind of take a little commission. And that's pretty much what I do.
Have you well, how did you get into this? I mean, what
Oh.
drew you to that and not to a typical I don't know, finish your degree in accounting and then you chase a career in Big Four? What drew you to e-commerce?
Well, I actually graduated with a degree in criminal justice. I worked in the field in a couple different, facets, doing different things, and then I actually transferred to being a loan officer, selling mortgages. And this whole thing was kind of just by accident. It was kind of something I kind of just stumbled upon. One of my friends was in like a Discord group. They were doing like Instacart,
Mm-hmm.
um, like there was like Instacart coupons they were kind of using. And at the time, I was kind of just down bad working for the state government, kind of not really making a whole lot of money. So I was like, any dollars saved is awesome. So I got into that group, and somehow I found myself reselling things. So what happened is I would buy things that were popular at the time. I think I started off with I don't know if you remember the Uno No Mercy. It was
Uh-huh.
super big on TikTok a couple years ago, and I kind of just was able to scoop some of those up here and there. And some people in the group, I was pretty much consigning my products through their Amazon accounts. So I did that for probably about a year, just kind of just buying things and consigning it through different people's platforms. And they take a little cut. I'm still, making money on most things. And I realized like, why give them that cut? I kind of the same thing that kind of most people who start their own businesses kind of figure
Hmm.
out at some point. You're like, well, I could be doing this for myself. So it kind of clicked, and I just created an LLC, created the marketplace platforms, and it's been about a year and a half now that I've technically owned my own business. And that was still a side hustle for probably the first year, up until the last quarter four. So like, October, November, December, I kind of figured, and I saw the numbers and I was like, you know what? Like it's just, I enjoy the freedom that this job allows me. So I quit my job as a mortgage loan officer and kind of went for it. And now
Yeah.
I spend my day sourcing products, organizing my area, repricing things, listing things. That's typically what my day to day is in different forms.
You had mentioned a very fancy acronym a lot of people might not know, an LLC.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is, why maybe you chose that over a different way to categorize your business?
Yeah, so pretty much an LLC is a limited liability corporation. And why I chose that, honestly, there wasn't really a main factor besides the point that Walmart, when you create an account, you need to have a business. So you need an EIN, which is an employment identification number through the IRS, which you can get without an LLC, but you need an actual like business formation to sell on Walmart. So I figured anyway, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it just I guess all the way. So I just decided to create a company and get it done like that. Just filed the paperwork myself, got the LLC so I can kind of separate my business and my personal finances, and that was the best way for me to do that. And then
And you,
you open your own business bank account and you're able to really actually separate everything that way.
and you were able to do this without any help from any special advisor or an accountant, or you kind of just sat down, looked it up, and you said, okay, it was relatively straightforward.
Yeah, honestly, and that's the beauty of the internet, man. The age of information. Everything is at your disposal. I mean, I know a lot of people that create LLCs that they use lawyers or accountants or whatever, and that's fine. I want to say balling on a budget, but I was down bad for sure. I mean, I started the business in like already in credit card debt because I really wasn't making much money from my current jobs. So I had to just, be as frugal as possible, and that's kind of led me to where I am, just making sure I'm sourcing things correctly, making sure I'm not taking super risky plays, and just using my money to its fullest extent.
Do you ever think you look back on it now that you've been doing this full time for a year or two, that you've kind of fulfilled the American dream?
Um, I don't know. That's a funny thing, and I could get into the philosophy of that. But like the American dream, I feel like is ever changing. But owning a business is not for everybody, for sure. And that's where I've kind of come to settle with is, I don't just own a business and sell things online. I organize things, I manage logistics, I do my own accounting, I'm managing a million things at once, right? And the things I've never thought I'd even be in the realm of have popped up where I'm like, I got to learn how to do this now that I own the business. Because, like, again, I don't have the money to pay somebody to do it. So I have to do it myself to figure it
Do you have an
out.
example of that?
That was the accounting thing for me was the most recent thing. And I have softwares now to do that. But at first it was like everything was on a spreadsheet. And like managing my books was not difficult, but it was a weird concept for me because I've never really like sat down and done spreadsheets and budgeted before. So to kind of have to do all that was it was tough, and I had to learn some things about how business finances and the structure of business finances work. And I definitely made some mistakes at first. I'll say that for sure. But hey, I guess you just live and you learn and you move
You
forward.
you roll with the punches for sure. You had mentioned a
Yeah.
couple of huge heavy mortar stores like Walmart and well maybe
hmm
Amazon, not so much, but or Target. I don't know if you're in there or not. Um,
hmm
are you also operating with Shopify, and I think is Etsy the rival to Shopify?
Um, Etsy's another platform as well, kind of like eBay. It really, there is another one, but no, I'm not really in my own website space at the moment, and I think that's where like it's easiest to get into is like the marketplaces for people who want to do this themselves. Is you don't really have to do any advertising or website creation. You're really just you're on there, you find the products that work, you make sure your margins are good, and then you kind of just go for it. And that's why I'm still where I'm at.
You had mentioned prior that kind of the niche that brought you into this was to do with the Uno rage machines or so. Have you
Mhm.
moved from that onward, or are you still more or less in the, I don't want to say the Uno sphere, but
No, I mean, the thing that I've come to realize is like yeah, you can like pinpoint certain niches when you're in this field, but you kind of got to be open to wherever the money's at. And I was with the Uno stuff. It was more or less taking advantage of hype in the market to resell certain things, which I mean, you always got to be open to. But I've kind of just gone onto a lot of stuff now. I do still manage a lot of toys. That's where I really enjoy because those are big quarter four heavy products. People are buying toys for Christmas, so that's really where I structure my business on at the current moment.
that's super cool. You had mentioned that you're kind of looking for opportunities in the marketplace. I don't know if you're aware of the gentleman, but there's an Austrian economist by the name of Israel Kirzner who
Mhm.
built a lot of his, well, a good philosophy of his concerning entrepreneurship and
Mhm.
economic growth on this idea that entrepreneurs have a characteristic trait that's like market alertness. define different niches that the market hasn't like discovered yet, more or less
Mm,
like to put it in layman's terms, kind of like giving the consumer what they want before they know they want it.
yeah.
Um, would you say that you have this alertness or that you're always kind of like looking and trying to figure out where you can get the next big sell?
I mean, yeah, in a certain degree, right? That and the biggest thing with, finding certain products is figuring out your margins. And thankfully, there's a lot of tools that are able to be utilized now. Um, it'll help you calculate, fees and shipping and all that fun stuff to make it pretty easy to realize if it's a good product to invest in. And I will say that it's fun to to think about creating my own product in the future when I have more capital to do so, because you're right. I mean, it's all about capitalizing on the niche in the market, reading between the lines and solving a problem that people didn't even know that they had. And that's something I'd definitely like to get into. For the time being, my whole thing is just figuring out products that already have, big brand names behind them, so I don't have to do as much on the back end, just pretty much just buying and selling. That's where I'm at.
When you kind of first stumbled into this moment or this epiphany that you can sell your own products and that you can kind of become independent and achieve a certain degree of freedom, um, for those in the audience who also kind of think like they want to make the jump and do their own thing, can you explain like maybe the emotional roller coaster you went through where you like looked at the numbers and you're like, okay, I can leave my job and I don't need I can like take this train and see where it goes?
Yeah, and I think that comes with just believing in yourself. And for me, being, very religious, believing in God, that he, paves my path every day, that no matter what, I shouldn't have to worry because he's got it and not me. And that was really the biggest factor in my jump to leaving a more or less stable job to kind of doing my own thing. I've always liked freedom though, so that was one of the things where you kind of got to realize that the freedom comes at a cost. And having um wow, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Having the space to take that risk is something that you can't always create. You kind of got to just do it at some point.
Okay. In the e-commerce space, I always kept reading a lot about maybe not it's prominent now, but a lot about drop shipping. And I
Hmm.
think these concepts go maybe hand in hand. Can you explain what drop shipping is?
Yeah, so drop shipping is pretty much just you're selling a product on, so say you have a storefront, right? I have something listed on Amazon.
Mhm.
I list it, I sell it. Instead of me being the one that ships it or Amazon being the one that fulfills it, a third party is the one. Because, like, say the most prominent one is like, say, like, you bought order from Walmart and you deliver it to the customer that ordered it from Amazon. That's pretty much dropshipping. It's just the product coming from another place, more or less. You don't actually have physical possession of. And that's actually, I mean, in a sense, pretty much dead, because a lot of these platforms are actually actively combating drop shippers because they don't want that to be on their platform. It's also a lot harder because all these big platforms are pretty price competitive. So to be able to actually drop ship from another place in the time frame that they allow you to ship things from is a lot more difficult. If you had weeks and weeks and weeks to be able to fulfill an order, yeah, drop shipping from China could be perfectly fine, but you can't do that. Um, what that really has turned into now is third party logistics companies, or fulfilled by Amazon, fulfilled by Walmart. So what you're doing is you're having another party fulfill it for you, but within their terms and conditions, more or less. With Walmart fulfillment and Amazon fulfillment, you take your product, say I have, 500 coffee cups. I'm going to mail it to Walmart and they're going to keep it in their facility.
Mm.
And then when the consumer buys something from Walmart.com, say they buy, one of those coffee cups from me, from my store, Walmart's actually the one fulfilling it because it's in their warehouse. And that's the new drop shipping, I guess. There's added layers you can do on top of that. You can have companies, you know, buy and send things to Walmart for you, so it's fully hands off. But that's the fulfillment by these big companies is the new drop shipping.
Do you ever see a price difference between the different companies you operate with? Like, will you see that Amazon will set, or I guess I suppose I desired to ask, how you set your prices, do they, I don't know, tack on, I don't know, Walmart wants 18% sales tax because you're using their website, and then Amazon will use, I don't know, 22% because it might have the larger reach.
Yeah.
Do you,
Yeah, absolutely. No, these companies do have fees. The flat rate across the board is usually 15% on any platform. Some they'll do incentives or whatever, but for the most part, you're looking at a 15% fee for just posting it and selling it on their marketplace. And then you have to pay for shipping as well. Because most people, I'm sure you're the same, most people they don't want to pay for shipping. They want it to be free shipping. I think we're kind of very fortunate in that sense now that Amazon has done the 2 day shipping. Everyone wants things now and they want things for free. So to be able to utilize that platform that they built to your own advantage while being an e-commerce seller is huge. But it also cuts into the margins quite a bit.
do you think that Amazon with the 2 day shipping, they've kind of built into the price the costs of the 2 day shipping, and then they just say you get it in 2 days, and then instead of clicking on getting it in 2 days or in a week, they already have the cost for the 2 days built into the price?
Oh yeah, for sure. That company is the amount of like market research that they do with their pricing and their fee schedules is unfathomable. They have hundreds of people working on stuff like that at all times, trying to figure out what makes the most sense. Because honestly, at this point, Amazon is not like an e-commerce company. They're a logistics company. They have completely changed their whole game
Hmm.
to being like one of the biggest logistics companies in the world, and they have done a really good job of it. So to be able to utilize their platform to be able to sell things for myself, I'm eternally grateful. And that was one of the things that kind of resonated with me when I saw some of the interviews that Jeff Bezos did, is that he's creating his company for other people, and I mean it works.
Have you ever had a product on Amazon or another marketplace revoked, where they said that they don't want to touch this product or ever push this product or?
Yeah, that happens quite frequently in a couple different forms. Either it gets the FDA or whatever unregulates the product, or Amazon decides that it's their liability is not good for it. And then there's also the other side where these companies don't want you to sell certain things because the brands are very restricted on how, like, what kind of resellers are letting on their listings on these platforms. So I've gotten kicked off of listings with product before, but I've heard crazy horror stories of people with you know hundreds of thousands of dollars in product trapped in Amazon fulfillment centers when they're not allowed to sell these products anymore. So that's one of the things you kind of have to risk mitigate. And honestly, sometimes you really can't predict that. That's one of the things is you kind of have to realize is that selling on these platforms can be very risky because you don't know what happens. Once the product leaves your hands, even if you're just shipping it to the customer, that it just is. So back to the restrictive selling is that it's been a hard thing for a lot of Amazon sellers to cope with in the last few years because they've been really dealing with some heavy pushback from Amazon about certain brands, even that they were allowed to sell, even a year ago, getting restricted in the middle of a season selling their product and having it stranded. A lot of people have gone to other platforms because of that, or they just straight up quit e-commerce in general, from what I've read.
Wow. Do you think
Yeah.
do you think with the engagement of rolling out AI and automation for the warehouses in Amazon and other places that the costs on your end will decrease, or do you think they'll increase?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if they'll. I think they could increase in some places and decrease in others, right? Because at the end of the day, AI is very helpful, but it still needs humans to make sure that things aren't being errored. And AI can't. I mean, I guess it probably could pick things in a warehouse, but it'd have to be a very expensive system to be able to do that. So you'd have the cost would be loaded up front, but then they get cheaper over time. As far as AI for what I'm doing, it's really good for market research just to be able to check if products are worth buying and selling. So that's where I see it, saving me time, saving me money overall. As far as the warehouse stuff, I really can't speak more than um, what I would think it would do, which I would think it'd be kind of all over the place depending on what they use it for.
Talking about your input for market research, do you spend more time trying to advertise products or trying to research if they're worth buying and selling, or where's a
No,
bulk of
that's
your time?
yeah. So the bulk of my time is definitely finding products to sell. Thankfully, like I said, what I'm doing is reselling. So I'm only selling big name brands that already have marketing and research done behind them. Think about like when you go to Target, right? Um, the companies the company Target, they do their own advertising, right? And that's not really what I'm talking about. It's all the products on the shelves are they're their own individual products doing their own individual advertising. So what I'm doing is just selling products that already have their own marketing strategies for myself to be able to do it like that. So I don't sell anything that's my own private label or brand at the moment.
Okay. So
And that's probably what I probably should have started off with that too. That was definitely something I left out in the beginning. There's a lot to talk about in this space for me because I've just my brain is just cranking 24/7 on certain things.
I mean, you're always looking for different opportunities. You're always
Mhm.
looking for the niche in the market. What brands sell better than others that a lot of people wouldn't think about? What is the weirdest thing you've
Ooh.
ever had to sell along?
Ooh, the weirdest thing I've ever had to sell. Um, Dude, the thing is, I've had thousands of different SKUs, so like there's been some interesting things. The one thing that I've kept up with, though, I will say, is Lego. Lego is still like one of the best selling toys of all time. So that's really what I focus on a lot, especially for quarter four Christmas time. Is the Lego stuff is huge. That's one of my favorite things. And also, I grew up as a kid. You know, we were all kids. I loved Lego. So to be able to sell things that I actually was passionate about at one point has kind of grown that passion back into me, which is fun. It has an additional aspect of enjoyment for my job.
No, I 100% agree with you. I recall very well playing with the Star Wars, the Clone Wars Lego sets growing up as a kid. Your constant emphasis on Q4, quarter four, the last months of the
Mhm.
year. You keep bringing it up, and it makes me think:
Mhm.
are you starving the first three quarters of every year, and then you kind of have enough money to survive the year with Q4?
That's a great question because that definitely is part of it, right? I do save a lot of inventory for quarter four because things sell faster and at higher prices during the end of the year during Christmas time. So that's something I've kind of had to kind of account for. And this is my first real year doing that. So I've been kind of adjusting my strategy here and there, selling certain things as I need to. But for the most part, yeah, I do a lot of accounting for the last part of the year being the highest part of my sales.
So, in addition to being an accountant, a market analyst, you're also forecasting prices for Q4 and how many kids want to buy
Yes,
some Legos.
yes, exactly. And a professional cleaner and organizer and motivational speech giver to myself. Man, there's a lot of things that come with owning a business. And it's fun for sure, but like I said, it's not for everybody.
When you first like left your job and you decided, okay, you're gonna pursue this, did you understand like going in, like you're not working 40 hours, you're working 24 hours?
Yeah, oh, 100%. And that's kind of what I love about it. And that's what I liked about the job that I had before is I could kind of work whenever, wherever. Like if I want to take a week off, that's fine. I just know that I have 80, 100, 120 hours of work to catch up on the next week, and that's fine. And I like being able to just do whatever whenever, having the freedom to be able to spend time with my family and do things during certain times, and I can work till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning if I need to. Is it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
No, I believe it is. It's definitely, I think I agree with you that it's not for everyone. In the months upcoming, or your plan, I guess, to keep growing in this business, what are some things you're thinking about to take advantage of?
Really the biggest thing is just how to deploy my capital and how to keep it coming back in and growing so I can have enough money to continue expanding my business and getting more things that I need, getting more space for things, getting a bigger vehicle to be able to transport, bigger boxes to the post offices. Yeah, so it's really just a money thing. It's just trying to figure out how to make the best use of my money every day. That's what I'm trying to do.
And if the what do you call it? If the fairy godmother came along and they wanted to give you a bunch of money, do you think it would solve a lot of the problems right away?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if it would solve things. It would definitely give me room to expand more. I think it would solve some problems short term, but you know what they say, more money, more problems. So I can only imagine it would have good and bad effects.
Because I know a lot of people who they begin a business right away, and they kind of don't have anything figured out, and then they dive headfirst the first 5, 6 weeks, and then they kind of run out of steam and they run out of ideas on how to like move into the space properly or to find the niche product that they desire to push. And I mean, you ideally, as every entrepreneur who has the grit and determination to just keep fighting, to wake up and to keep going. And like you said prior, you're your own motivational speaker. Do you think that the highs and lows, you have to have them when you do your own business and when you're in it for yourself?
Oh yeah, man. There's a certain level of like just mental strength that you kind of need to realize, and that also comes with like balance too, right? Like you can't just like you said, people go in all in the first couple weeks, and they say the first I think it takes about 3 or 4 years for a business um to finally like turn over and like start doing what people expect it to do. And I think, having that patience too, along with the motivation and discipline to wake up every day and keep doing what you're doing, even if it doesn't seem um, like it's, bearing any fruit, is one thing that you really got to be conscious of when you start your own business, because it's not going to be fun all the time. Um, it's not going to be fruitful. It's going to be tough. But I think just knowing that you're working for yourself to build yourself something, and having that vision and having that trust in yourself to be able to do that is bigger than anything. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, you can you can have a structured job where you're just working for somebody else, and that's perfectly fine. I just don't think that was for me. So to be able to wake up and do something for myself every day and build my own business was the right decision for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, definitely kudos to everyone that tries. You know, a lot of people they don't
Mhm.
even step into the arena of competition and trials and tribulations of the free market. Your incorporation for your LLC, did you do it in, I believe the famous state to incorporate anything in the US is Delaware. Did you also
Uh,
did you do
no. No, I didn't. I just went ahead and did it in the state that I live in, just because I don't really care about anonymity, and that's like one of the biggest things why people make certain LLCs in certain states or structure things in a certain way, is to be able to hide from the government or whatever. Like you can do what they call a registered agent if
Mhm.
you want some anonymity, which is pretty much there's companies that will take on the address of their business as your own, so you can have some sort of mask there. But I think the for a small business, somebody just starting out, to have to jump through different state hoops to be able just to have a little bit of anonymity in what you're doing is not worth it, especially for someone like me. Like I said, I'm balling on a budget, right? I had to make the most of my dollars. So to be able to add different states into my loopholes of things and probably need a lawyer or an accountant, and
Mhm.
just wasn't worth it. Maybe in the future, when if we create an actual corporation, we'll do some shell companies and
Yeah.
play that game. But for the time being, now I just created it in the state that I live in, just because it was easier.
Yeah, in order to make it big, you have to make a lot of customers happy. And so
Hmm.
I also was thinking, do you ever have customer contact points? Like,
Yeah,
does anyone ever call you and they say, David, you sent me the wrong Lego?
actually, yeah, no, and all these platforms have messaging ability, but I actually did get a call. Funny enough that you said that, from a customer from Walmart. Actually has my phone number on there, and I don't know why they do, but she called me and was like, "Hey, you sent me the wrong thing." And of course, I didn't send it to her. Walmart was the one that fulfilled that. But I pride myself in being nice to everybody that I come in contact with. Having the best customer service that I can possibly provide with my business, because that's how I would want to be treated in a business, right? And so, I put her in contact. I contacted Walmart and then put her in contact with a Walmart team to make sure it got figured out. So that was the only time I've ever had somebody call me. But it was definitely shocking, to say the least. I was not expecting that. Answer a random phone call, and then that's who was on the other line.
I mean, you're David Chenette, CEO of Chenette and Co. or so, so you got to take those phone calls.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, no. So most everything's done through like a just text messaging, like eBay and Amazon are all messaging platforms, pretty much, where you can send um, the marketplace seller a message. But for the most part, when you do fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by Walmart, they take care of the customer service. So really, the biggest customer service front that I'm facing is eBay. Just making sure all my people are taken care of that buy stuff from me on that platform.
Yeah, that's really cool. In wrapping up the conversation here, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to leave any inspiring words for those listening who maybe want to join the e-commerce space or to go off on their own in their business. Did anyone give you any advice to start you off on your journey?
I've had advice throughout the time, but as far as starting it, you got to just realize that like you're capable, 100% you're capable of doing it. And even if it's not much of a spark, just go on that little spark and do what you feel like you got to do and just don't give up because there is hope on the other side, 100%. And reach out to people. You know what they say, when it's not what you know, it's who you know. But then on top of that, I'll quote my friend Michael, is who you know can teach you what you don't know is a big one that I've come across. That everything's a learning opportunity. If you take it as that, you'll never fail.
Those are some wise words. To the audience out there listening, we want to thank you, of course, for coming on, David. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm sure there's a lot of things I didn't touch on, so
No,
if
that
anyone
that's
has
okay.
any questions or leave comments, I'm happy to continue to add to anything that I've said.
That just gives us the excuse to we have to do this again in 6 months or so and see how many toys you're selling. And
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
for everyone listening, we want to say thank you. If you ever want to reach out to us, we are active on LinkedIn and Instagram, and of course, we are ready to receive any emails on questions you might have for David or for us. The economic podcast for at gmail.com is where you can reach us. David, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
man. Thank you so much, Stefan. I really appreciate you, brother. Have a great rest of your day.